Well, hello there. I heard through the internet that you were thinking about taking up fishing, but you've gone into the fishing aisles of Academy, Bass Pro, and even Walmart, and you begin to feel overwhelmed. So much so that you feel like your head's gonna explode. Well, guess what? I'm here to help you with that. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I have learned about using artificial lures and catching fish. So hopefully this helps. I'm going to go over the what, the how, and the where. You already know why. That's why you clicked on this link or on this video. The when is entirely up to you whenever you're ready to catch your fish. So, well, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? All right, the first thing that you will need to do, what you need to do before you wet a line, is check your state's wildlife department or conservation department and check for the rules and regulations, and also look into licensing, because I believe majority of us do have to have some type of fishing license or permit or something. So that's the number one thing to do before doing anything else. Luckily for mine has not only has rules and regulations, but there's a lot of other resources too. So that may be a good place to start. So, but yes, please check your state's wildlife department's website for information on rules and regulations, as well as the licensing. So when fishing artificial lures, you will obviously need baits. Okay, so what kind of baits? Well, the fish can be in 3 different areas of the water. Well, 3 different levels, I should say. They could be feeding up top, which those are usually easy to spot because you can see little, ripples of water, and it's usually in a circular pattern. They're usually they're eating bait fish or bugs. They are also could be in the mid-level, which maybe they're just cruising, looking for, a good meal or something, looking for a meal, and just cruising the waters. And then they could be in the deep part of the water, where it's either cooler or warmer, depending on, or, if they're feeling lethargic, because it's being too hot, but, they still have to eat. They're going to hang out at the bottom and look for an easy meal, basically for a meal that's coming to them, basically like ordering takeout, so to speak. Now, these lures that I am demonstrating are for freshwater. They do have similar ones for saltwater, but I figure most of us, majority of us, do have some type of freshwater resource. So whether it's a pond, lakes, streams, rivers, that sort of thing. So creeks. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the things that I actually feel confident in, that I've actually caught fish on, and kind of, help you to determine to pick your bait. So, so let's go ahead and jump right in, shall we? Okay, so what do you need to fish with? Okay, like I said, I'm going to go over the baits that I use. Now, if you're on a tight budget and you still feel, a little uncertain, a lot of places have fishing kits. Depending on what species you're going for, they have kits that are already packed for you. Like this one is supposed to be for bass, but it could be, but other fish will eat it. Sometimes they'll eat it as well. But this has pretty much everything you need. So you'll need, it's got the soft plastic, It's even got some jigs, you know, that sort of thing. So if you're in a hurry, you're on a tight budget, you can check these out as well. This one came from Walmart, and and it was under $20. So, and it comes with just about everything you need. Excuse me. But if you want to go a la carte, if you want to pick out your own baits, then that's what I'm going to show you right now. So for topwater, there are several baits you can use. There's walking baits, frogs, I'm trying to think what else. Buzz baits, I think, is a top bait. Or they even have like a propelled bait. It's kind of cool looking. Or you can use a popper bait. I have a popper lure. And as far as the brands go, it really doesn't matter. It goes with whatever's in your budget. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars to go catch a fish. They'll eat whatever you got. If they want to eat, believe me, they'll eat. So, but yeah, this is a popper. So that's a good topwater bait. Like I said, they've got walking baits. There's another bait called Spook, which I think is kind of like a walking bait. But buzz bait, frog, I think. So, but this one's a little easier to use because it's a cast and retrieve type of thing. You don't have to do any tricks. I mean, you can kind of jerk it, you know, to make it go side to side. That, you know, just whichever. So, so for the midline or the mid-level, some type with a blade is usually really good. Kind of like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait, like that, or even what's called an underspin. This is kind of a jig head with a blade, basically. That's all an underspin is. It's a jig head with a blade on it. So, so something to keep in mind. And then, of course, a soft plastic. And that could be anywhere from some type of worm, like a stick bait, or a curly tail worm, or some type of creature bait, like a lizard or a crawfish, or something with little claws. And I think that's, and then of course your paddle tail, which can represent a bait fish. That's kind of one of the things you want to try to mimic as best you can. Is trying what they call match the hatch, which like I said, a little bait fish, or a crawfish. So anything like a creature bait. Lizards can mimic that too. Just do the best you can. And as far as colors, the most common, because there are a bunch of colors out there, is like a green pumpkin, a black and blue, or what's a June color, or yeah, June bait, a June bug. Thank you. It's kind of like reddish purplish. To me, it actually kind of looks like grape jelly, so to speak. So I'm along the lines of that as far as the colors go. Depending on the clarity of the water, if it's really dirty, you can use white or something that's visible that you can see, or something bright, like chartreuse, which is basically a bright yellow, like that yellow. That's a chartreuse. So those are as far as baits. Oh yeah, there is another one. You can use a jig head. That also goes pretty good down, if you want to give that a try. It can, it can go through grass or, structure and stuff, so you can do that as well. And of course, they do have a crankbait, a deep diver, which goes, and it'll tell you on the back how far it goes. So, I mean, depending on how deep your pond is or your lakes or whatever, will determine on what kind you get. As far as deep water, I like to use the soft plastic with what I'm going to show you next. The hooks, like I said, you can get. I recommend getting a jig head, because it goes great if you decide to get one of the paddle tails. But make sure you also have these kind of hooks. They're called EWG hooks, extra wide gap hooks. Common with soft plastic, depending how big, is 3 to 4 aught. And the way you can tell that is it's got the 3/0. If it was a 4/0, it'd be a 4/0. So just something like that. But extra wide gap hook, EWG. This is great for worms or creature baits and stuff. And of course you'll need some weights. Now depending, these are bullet weights. Now depending on where you're fishing, if you're going to be fishing ponds, I recommend anywhere from 1/16 all the way to a 1/4 ounce. But if it also depends on how deep your pond is too, because I've got some shallow ponds in my area as well as some deep ones, so it just depends. And as far as lakes, I think the average is 3/8. 3/8 ounce is the biggest. So, but it's all trial and error. And like I said, I mean, if you depending on where you're fishing, and they're pretty cheap. These are less than $2 a bag, so they got quite a few of them in there. So just make sure you've got some weights and some hooks. I do recommend that you pick up some jig heads. Some little jig heads. And like I said, again, it doesn't matter what brand. It's mainly whatever's in your budget. It's all going to do the same thing. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so next, now that you've got your baits, now if I were to go fishing, there is a particular bait that can actually do the trick of topwater if you don't want to use those other ones. This is a fluke. It's called a fluke bait, and it kind of looks like a fish, a little bait fish. So that's that's pretty good. And actually, any of the soft plastics, if you put a heavy enough weight on it, it can act like a deep water bait, lure. So if those fish are huddled down deep, either trying to keep cool or warm, whichever time of year, the soft plastics work good as well. So if I were going to go fishing, if Mother Nature was cooperating today, I would go ahead and go fish. I would definitely get a curly tail worm, because I've actually caught a fish on there. Just looks like, and I've actually caught him on this one. It's the black and blue, or blue flake. It's black with blue flakes in it. I have caught fish on that, so I would get that. I would probably actually bring a creature bait too, just so two soft plastics, because those can actually go weightless as well. So if you were to rig it weightless, it would work as a topwater. So soft plastic has multiple uses. So, but I would bring a lizard too. So I would bring a worm and a lizard, because I have caught fish on this as well. And as far as a bladed bait, that's a toughie. I guess in this case, I would go with spinner bait, because it will act like a school of bait fish. So, if the fish are feeding, they're hungry enough, and they see they think a school of bait, they think they've got an easy meal. So probably that. And then also something to keep in mind, a lot of the ponds and stuff have different kinds of fish. So something small, you know, like a, you know, to catch the panfish, like the bluegills or the green sunfish, or even crappie. I mean, depending on, and bass even eat it too. So it's not, you know, specific to a species. So, but have something small. So you'd get a little small jig head and like, you know, some type of a small bait lure to hook it on. Now, a lot of the crappie jigs, they do have them to where they're already rigged, so you wouldn't even have to, you know, buy a set of jigs and a set of baits. Sometimes they come all in one. They got the jig and the bait. So again, it all depends on your budget. So something to keep in mind. Now that you've got your baits, you've chosen your a la carte baits. So I guess the next question is, where do I put them? How do I transport them in? Good question. My favorite way, of course, is buying a little tackle box like this, because when you open it, it has little compartments that you can, they give you, you know, little dividers that you can put them in and just create your own. You can put your hooks here, your weights, lure, you know, your soft plastics and stuff. So it's a nice little handy thing to use, and I'm sure everybody's got one of these, a backpack. I love a backpack because I can put this in here, and, you know, of course, a snack and something to drink, because you got to make sure you stay hydrated and stuff. So I would put that in there. Other items that I recommend that you put in your arsenal when you are going out fishing is have a set of scissors or clippers. I'm sure everybody's got some, you know, clippers or, you know, small scissors hanging around. You know, otherwise, you know, they're pretty cheap. And I think even Walmart, you can get a little kit like that. And then, of course, a pair of needle nose pliers. They don't have to be too big, and I'm sure you probably got them in your toolbox or anything like that. Just make sure you have, make sure it is a needle nose though, because the purpose of this is for taking the hook out of the fish's mouth, and a needle nose is usually easier to work with. I got this at Harbor Freight, and I think it was under $3, so pretty simple. Pretty easy, but make sure you have that, and it goes great, and you can put it in your backpack too. So another thing I like about that. So I mean, I know they've got the handheld, you know, tackle boxes. They have ones over the strap, but I've had backpacks laying around, so I was, you know, used what I had, so it works great. So something else you can use, you know, if you're only going, like, say there's a pond near where you work and you get an hour lunch, you don't want to take a whole lot of stuff. You can get yourself a little fanny pack, you know, something like that, or whatever they call it, waist pack. I know they called it fanny pack when I was a kid. And, you know, you can put some soft plastics in there, just you know, a couple of things, you know, some hooks. You should still be able to fit your pliers and your clippers in there real easily. So, so that's it as far as, you know, the baits and what to put them in. I guess next question is, what do you throw them on? I got you covered. All right, so as far as the rod goes, I would prefer a medium to medium heavy. Basically what you're looking for is something with a little bit of backbone. You know, this is, you know, how it bendy, that's a lot of bend. We all call that a pool noodle. So just, you want something with a little bit of backbone, something that, you know, can bend but not extend, you know, go bend more. And it will tell you, this is actually a medium light. You know, it'll tell you on the rod on what, if it's a medium, fast action, you know, medium heavy or medium light, you know, it'll tell you on there. Yeah, so just look for that. And as far as the height, the longer the rod, the farther it will go. I do between a 6'6", and that's what I have, to a 7'1". Yeah, no, it's taller. It would be taller than me, but it actually throws farther. And so just something to keep in mind on how, you know, how far you want your bait to go. So, and they do have combos. That you can buy a combo that has the rod and the reel, and a lot of times they have, you know, line too, so you don't have to worry about that. But if, again, this is if you want to go a la carte. So if you want to buy your own, you know, you want to build one. As far as the rod goes, I recommend either medium or medium heavy. Now, as far as the reels go, you know, they do have the good old-fashioned spin caster. I'm not a fan of them, although I feel like, I mean, they're good. They serve a purpose. I had one when I was a kid. I had a little Woodstock one. Loved it to death. Wish I still had it, just for the memory's sake. But this is the easiest. The spin cast is the easiest to cast with, but it does have, you know, the cons, I guess, would the line. You know, and the backlashes and stuff, it's a little challenging. It's a pain in the butt to undo. But again, it's all your preference, you know, whatever you feel comfortable with, basically whatever is going to get you out on the water. So, and the next type of reel, of course, is a good old-fashioned, which I like to use a lot. In fact, I use it all the time, especially when I go pond fishing, is the spinning reel. You know, this is what it looks like. The reason I like it is, believe it or not, I actually fish left-handed. So the cool thing about the spinning reels is it's adjustable. Normally when you buy them, a lot of times the handle is on the right-hand side. So to move it over, you can just turn, you know, you turn the knob, or this knob here, loosen it up, and you can swap it and to get it to, you know, go on the left side. So that's one of the things I like about it. Two, it's more open. So if you do have backlashes, it's a little easier to get out. And it really doesn't take much to cast with it either. I'll be showing that here in a little bit, shortly, on how to cast it. So on a spinning reel, but it's real simple. And then, of course, you got your bait caster. That's what a lot of people are using these days. And they have left-handed ones and right ones. However, you have to buy those. You can't swap it like you can the spinning reel. You've actually got to purchase the left-handed one or the right-handed one. But this one's kind of more advanced. I mean, it's got the push button like the spin cast. And it's open face like the spinning reel, but as far as the brakes, you gotta use your thumb when you're casting it out so that way you can avoid the backlashes. So it takes some practice. I mean, you can learn on this as well, but I prefer the spinning reel. So now. So that's, like I said, they have combos. You know, you can get a spinning reel combo, even a bait caster combo, or a spin caster combo. So if you just want to take that route, you don't have to worry about that. And a lot of times they will have their own line, so that's another thing you don't have to worry about. So just keep in mind, there are plenty of ways to get out there and go fishing. So if you don't want to do a la carte, they do have the combos. And some of them, you know, they're really not that expensive. Just you know, depends on what you're in your budget. So just kind of, you know, go shop around. So as far as the line, you know, say if you buy a reel and it doesn't have line, the lines that I recommend, especially for a spinning reel, is either monofilament or fluorocarbon. I mean, you can use a braid, because there's three types of lines. There's the monofilament, the fluorocarbon, and the braid. For a spinning reel, I would, like I said, I'd recommend either the monofilament or the floral. I mean, you can use a braid, but you can use a braid to monoleader or braid to floral leader, but that's a little more in depth because you've got there's a knot in between the braid and the floral or mono. And I mean, and if you don't want to buy the line, you can take your reel to Cabela's or Bass Pro, and they will fill your reel up with mono for free. So definitely check that out. I'm trying to think. I think that might be it, at least far as the what's. So so hopefully that helps. And so I guess next I will talk to you about how to tie a knot, how to spool your reel, and how to tie on a rig, specifically a Texas rig, which is one of the easiest, and how to cast. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so how to spool your spinning reel. This is a spinning reel. Say you bought a brand new one and you need to add line to it. That's what I'm going to demonstrate today. This is monofilament. You can use mono, fluorocarbon, or braid. Those are the three types of lines out there. But for a beginner, especially for a spinning reel, I would either use monofilament or fluorocarbon. Those are going to be your best ones to start. I mean, there are combinations to where you can do braid to floral leader or mono, whichever. So, but for the sake of demonstration, I'm using monofilament, and the first thing we want to do is you're going to feed the line. Oops, where's the end of it? Oh, my bad. Feed it the line. You're going to feed it through the eyelets until you reach the bottom, until you get to the reel. And so let's get this fed. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so, I did do it. Let's try it again. I started it, but it was being stubborn. So, all right. Oh, that's what happened. It got stuck. Okay, my apologies. Okay, so like I said, you're going to feed it through. And I usually do this on the table, but I'm going to try to demonstrate as best I can here. So basically all you're doing is just feeding it through like so. Of course you definitely want to make sure that it's lining up. I don't know, is it? Okay, it is. It's just weird. Okay, it's doing what it's supposed to. So yeah, sometimes the lines have a mind of their own. So basically, like I said, all you're doing is feeding it through each eyelet. So, and if you don't want to, you can skip this process. There are a lot of, like I said, combos out there that have the rod and the reel, and a lot of the times the reel is already spooled with line. But if you end up buying a new one without it, you can go to Cabela's or Bass Pro, and they will spool it for you for free. So just something to keep in mind. So, all right. So now I've got it to the last spool. So, or the last eyelet. Okay. So now you want to hook it to, or get it to your reel. What you're going to do with this is you're going to open the bell, and because you're wanting it to fit between the groove of the reel, so that because that's what's going to get it its motion. So you just flip it up, make sure, and then you just tie a double knot in this the middle part right here. So let's see if it'll work. Come on. Okay, and it's just a simple double knot. I'm gonna go ahead and, I think everybody pretty much knows how to tie a double knot, so I'm gonna do this part on the table, so we can demonstrate, so I can show you what it looks like. So, alrighty. So once I got, just make sure you got plenty of line. You know, let it release some of the line, so that way you got some slack. And okay. And then we're just going to make sure that, oops. Let's see if I can turn you around a little bit. Alright, so see, make sure you just get your knot tied. And if you want, before you tie your knot, if you want to make sure that you do have it on the groove, that is a-okay. Because you definitely don't want to have to repeat yourself, so. Just tie the double knot. Okay. It's a simple. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, and if you don't want to learn this right now, or you don't want to take the time to do it, like I said, you can go to a lot of the combos out there have line in it anyways. So, so then you just make sure that when you tie it, you will get a tag line. You want to cut it as close to the knot as possible. Just don't cut the knot. So you're just gonna give it a trim. There we go. And when you close the bell, it should look like that. It should be, you know, wrapped around there, because what you're going to do is, once you've tied that knot and you've got it on there, depending on what direction, you're just going to turn it, and then what it'll do is it'll start feeding. Oh, hang on. Yeah, kind of got to watch it. It likes to get caught. That's kind of another reason why I like to do it on the table. But what you're doing here is just reeling it until, I don't know if you can see it, but the line is starting to fill up. And so you just roll it until, not too far out, but just give it enough, because if you do too much, it will cause all kinds of problems when you're out there fishing. So, but you just reel it until it starts to fill up. So that's basically how you add spool to your, or line to your spinning reel. Just something to keep in mind. So, all right, hope that helped. On to the next how-to. Okay, so how to tie an improved clinch knot. First thing you do is you take the end of your line and run it through the eye of the hook, which this is the eye right here. So you want to run it through like so, and then pull it through, or pull it up. So you should have a V shape. Now there are two ways to do it. The way I do it is, because to me it's easy, because my hands tend to fumble. So this next step is, I'm going to show you the easiest way. Now normally with monofilament or with floral, depending on the pound test, the average is usually turning it 5 to 6 turns. But for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to do it for 3, because this is a thicker line. So the next step with that you'll do is you're going to turn it. Like I said, usually the average is 5 to 6 times. The heavier the line, the less turns, and the lighter the line, the more turns. So something to keep in mind. Let's see. So I'm going to turn it once, twice, and 3 times. Like I said, just for the sake of demonstration. So once you've got your turns, it should look like something like this. So then you're going to take the end of your tag line and run it through, let's see if I can get it through, and run it through the loop that's just above the eye of the hook. You're going to run it through there, bring it on the other side, and so since you've done that, you've created another loop, a big loop. So then what you're going to do is you're going to run the end of the tag line. You're going to run it through that loop that you have created on the other side. Bring it through there, and at this point you'll want to wet the line to stop from causing any friction. So at this point I would, you know, lick it or whichever, and then just lightly with the tag bring it up, and then with the main line you should be able to go ahead and pull it. Bada bing, bada boom. There you have the improved clinch knot. So that's one of the easiest lines to tie for fishing. I use it 99.9% of the time. There is another knot that's fairly easy. It's called a Palomar knot. But if you're getting started, I recommend the improved clinch knot. So I hope that helps. Okay, so one of the easiest rigs to tie, and it's pretty effective too. It's called the Texas rig, and it's one of the easiest ways to rig up a soft plastic. And so let's go ahead and demonstrate. All right, so you're going to take the end of your line like so. And you'll need a bullet weight, like that, and an EWG hook, otherwise is an extra wide gap hook. So this one's a 3/0. The average for Texas rigs are 3 or 4/0. So just and you know, here's what the pack, at least one of the packages. So when you see what I'm talking about, it's a 3 and the /0, that's 3/0. So if you're when you're seeing 0, you want to look for the 3/0. So all right. So to rig a Texas rig, the first thing you're going to do is once you grab the end of your line is take your bullet weight. The bullet weight, depending on if you're fishing a pond or a lake, that'll depend. I usually, you know, fish ponds. I fish a lot of ponds, so a 1/8 or 1/16, depending on how deep it is. You can go to a 1/4, but again, it's all going to depend on how deep your pond is. So, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and use an 1/8 ounce bullet weight, and it's a lead weight. They do have lead and tungsten. I like tungsten. I mean, it's a little bit more money, but you know, it does have, you know, some benefits. But a lead one works just as well. So it's whatever's in your budget. That's the main thing. So, all right. So what you're going to do first is you want to take your end line and put it through the smaller part of the weight. So just put it in like that. Oop, there you go. And so it should look something like that. So, all right. So once you got your weight on there, and you're going to want to now put on your hook. So, and you're going to want, like I said, the most easiest way to tie a knot on your hook is the improved clinch knot. Like I said, I use this 99.9% of the time because it's easy, it's fast. So, and again, you just put the end of the line through the eye of the hook like so, maybe. Okay, and of course make sure you have like a V. So this line, you could probably get away with 5. So we'll just do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then, so apologize for that. Okay, come on. Sometimes you do end up having to fight it. Just have to get a grip on it. But what I'm trying to do is that little loop that's above the eyelet, or I mean above the eye of the hook. You're going to take your tag piece and put it through that loop, and then, so then you've got that popping out like so, and you've created another loop. So you want to put the tag, the end of the line through that loop like so. And like I said, at this point you want to make sure you wet it down because you don't want any friction. So you can put in your mouth or run some water, and you can take the tag line up a little bit, just enough, and then you should be able to pull the main line. If you can, just trying to, I usually kind of hold it both because I want to give it some tension, and you just bloop. So there you go, and that is an improved clinch knot. And so now you got that tag, you want to also make sure you trim that. So so we'll just do that. Okay, like so. Just trim it a little bit, as close as you can. Just bloop. Okay. So now at this point, you've got, this is what it should look like. So, okay. So this is when you, this is, you know, for soft plastics. So it gets good for creature baits, worms, basically just about any soft plastic. Today, we're going to be using a ribbon tail. And when brand new packet, a lot of the ribbon tails will have that tag, or that where it's connected. Just pull it like that. So, all right, and now, so you can take your worm and your hook, and you're going to want to try to get it into the middle of the head of the worm. Just get it in the middle, and you're going to just feed it through, just like that, and then you're going to poke it out just a bit. Once you poke it out, bring it up, and you want to turn it like so. As soon as you get up like that, actually, when you get it up all the way at the end, just above the eye, and now you can turn it like so. So it should look like that. And here you can line it up to see where, to keep it straight, where the hook has to be. So, and in order to do that, you just give it a pinch. Try to go a little bit below that, just like so, and then just bring it up like that. So, and a lot of times when you do that, it does expose the hook. So, and if you've got some grassy area, all you do is just take the end of that hook, pinch the plastic, bring it up, and bloop, just like that. So it should look like that. So this is a Texas rig. So this is what it should look like. So, okay, real simple, and it can catch fish. So, okay, so this demonstration is, I'm going to show you how to cast with a spinning reel. I mean, it can work for the spin caster too. I mean, obviously the spin caster, you've got the push button, so, and along with the bait caster as well. So there's a little more to it with the bait caster. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do it with a spinning reel because it is really easy. So those of you who are using the spin casters, if you want to challenge yourself, the spinning reel is the way to go. And I'm going to try to do the best I can. Basically, what you're going to do with the spinning reel is, see if I can do it without breaking anything. Okay, so you want to open the bill. Actually, just kidding. With the line, you're going to push it against the rod. Then you're going to open the bill. And then you want to bring your arm back, or the rod back to where the It's back to you. And it's almost like pitching. It's like pitching a baseball. So when you cast it, but halfway, wish I was outside. Unfortunately, it's raining, so this is a little challenging. But halfway, the halfway point when you're coming over, go ahead and release it, and the weight should take care. The weight in the worm or your bait should take care of it. So, and like I said, I really wish I could demonstrate, but that's as far as casting is concerned, especially for a spinning reel. Just remember to take your line, hold it with your index finger like so, open your bail, and then you know, make sure, and then when you're at this point, and when you're at the halfway mark, this is a little challenging, but at the halfway mark, that's when you let go, and it should launch it. Of course, you're gonna have to give it a good whew, you know, kind of like I said, it's exactly like pitching a baseball. That's the easiest way I can explain it as far as casting the rod and reel. But for releasing the line on a spinning reel, that's what you have. That's how you do it. And when you are reeling, make sure to give it some slack. You don't ever want to reel it up to the eyelet, because you can do some damage to that, and it could cause some problems, especially when you catch your fish. So just remember when you're casting it, and even when you're casting it out, make sure there's a little bit of slack too, because it'll help it go farther. So hopefully that helps. Like I said, for spinning reels, to get the line to go, to do its thing, just remember to, with your index finger, hold the rod, push the line back, hold up against it, open your bail, and then halfway before you launch it, release, and it'll take off. So pretty simple, but so that's if you want to start using a spinning reel. If not, you know, with the spin casters, you just push the button, and you know, I think you've got to hold the button though, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. Hold the button, then halfway through your launch, release the button, and it should go, if I remember correctly. So it's been a bit, but yeah. So that's how you cast with a spinning reel. So okay, now where to fish? If you're just doing it because you want to get into it, I would recommend trying ponds. Now you can go on the lake, like if you're going for the weekend camping trip or something like that and there's a lake nearby. I'm not saying don't, or you can't. So, but if you use this something, you know, you thought about, you wanted to give it a try, to build confidence, I definitely recommend a pond. But I mean, you can catch them on the lake too. My son caught his first one in a lake, so I mean, it just depends. But so either way, whether it's a lake, a pond, a creek, a river, whichever. The first thing I do is I look for life. Now that could be anything from birds or turtles, or if you're walking up to the bank and you see, you know, the little bait fish, that gives me some confidence. That gives me hope that there are fish out there. As far as what kind, I'm not sure, but look for, you know, signs of life, definitely. So when you start fishing, if you're going to the bank, you know, like most of us, what you want to do is start parallel from the bank to the water, cast it there, and try to make it a fan-like, you know, when you're casting. Sometimes that, I know that can be hard, just, you know, do your best, but, you know, That'll take practice, but that's a good starting point. You want to look for shade, you know, at the shade line. A lot of fish like to hang out there. During the summertime it's cooler, and even during the winter time they like that for some reason. Structure is another good thing. Plant life, even if there's a tree branch that has fallen, that's a good area to start. Concrete, you know, rocks, anything like that. Fish love to hang out there. You know, just those are good starting points. And, you know, and then just go ahead and start casting. So something to, you know, just kind of keep in mind when you're doing it and just have fun. Like I said, just look for those things, because a lot of us don't have the fish finders. So, I mean, and like I said, sometimes your wildlife department, you know, they can tell you where there are fish. Just make sure that when you are fishing, if you are going to a pond, make sure that it is public access. Around here we do have a lot of ponds in the neighborhoods, but there are signs specifically saying no trespassing or anything like that. So be, you know, aware of that. But I would also check your wildlife. I mean, your wildlife department in your state. We're fortunate enough. I really like our website because it can tell us where to fish, what kind of fish are supposed to be in there. So it's you know, useful information. And there's also an app. It's called FishBrain. It's an app that people you know, who go fishing like to take pictures of their fish, and sometimes it has it to where you can tell what you caught it on. You know, what you caught, and about whereabouts that you caught it, as far as the area, what pond, or not the specific area of the pond, but the name of the pond or water source. So to look on that, and just go on your app in the App Store and just type up FishBrain. They do have a free version. However, they also do have a pay one, and the pay is more detailed. But I've got the free one, and it does me justice. It you know, between my wildlife department's website and that, and also Google Maps. Google Maps is another place to check to see if there's any ponds or any type of water resources in your area. So just, you know, that Google can be your friend as well. So. All right, so, well, I hope that's helped you and will encourage you to get out on the water. Like I said, fishing is a lot of fun, but just remember that it is fishing and not catching. You may have days to where the fish aren't in the mood, but don't be discouraged. You will catch your fish, I promise. It's just gonna be a matter of time. And the only way, you know, you can do that is if you go wet a line out in the pond or the lake or the river, you know, wherever you have water source. So I appreciate you watching this. Like I said, leave me a comment, hit the thumbs up. Let me know, you know, what you thought of this video. If there's anything, you know, I need to work on as far as instructions or anything like that. And if you have any questions, please leave them also in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer those for you, because I think being out in the great outdoors, the fresh air, you know, and catching the fish, there's nothing like it. It's actually a rush. And honestly, I don't care how big it is, how small it is. To me, a fish is a fish. So I look forward to hearing your stories. So please get out on the water. Have a great time. I'll see you next time. Love y'all. Peace.